Kia ora, Nick, and I'm just doing a reflection on Domain 6, so I will just get into it. The first part of Domain 6 was writing a literature review, and I chose to write a literature review on the characteristics of the ventral and dorsal stream of cerebral vision impairment, which you know all about. So yeah, I'm right at the early stages of understanding, but in the chapter you said it's really important that RTVs learn what those characteristics are, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to do so. I found it really interesting that the ventral stream is the Watt system and helps children to identify faces, shapes and words, and it serves to function our orientation system. So I guess that's if children are getting lost, finding it hard to identify what they're looking at, maybe finding it hard to match shapes or match letters. They may have some issues in this area. In terms of how this will relate to my practice, I guess it gives me a little bit more of an understanding of, well, not necessarily understanding. What it does is it gets me to ask more questions about how this relates to autism. So, for example, students with autism often find it difficult to do facial recognition or facial contact, so I wonder if that's the same area in the brain and if Dutton's work relates to that. I guess in terms of children that I work in mainstream schools, if teachers are seeing these characteristics and ask me questions, then at least I will be able, a light bulb will go off because I'll have this information. In terms of the dorsal stream, that is the WEA system of the brain, so it's located in the top region of the brain. And in this area, the dorsal stream, people with this type of impairment can find it difficult in complex situations, like when there's a lot of visual clutter, such as at a supermarket. It's really important that you have clear, empty spaces. Again, this kind of relates to autism, and I wonder if we're dealing with the same areas of the brain. Also, these children can find it really difficult to judge going downstairs and seeing objects in the distance. So I guess that's related to clutter, because the further something is away, the more information you're taking in. And I read something where a student likes to use a magnifier over his computer, not because he needs the magnification, but it just creates less information that he's actually seeing. So I thought that was quite interesting. What else? Yes, so students with the dorsal stream dysfunction can also have difficulty directing their hand to an object and can kind of miss it. So knowing these characteristics, I'm yet to read about how they apply to students with complex needs, which is mainly my caseload, but I'm quite interested to see that if some of my students find it difficulty looking and reaching, I guess Roman Lenski would say that that's like a phase 3, and Florine from Bartimaeus said, well, that's a higher functioning thing, so it can be more difficult. But I guess, I wonder if Gordon Dutton would say, is that then, a dorsal stream impairment, because they're finding it difficult to look and actually move towards the cup, like missing the cup. So, yeah, I'm still on my journey processing these different things and actually how to relate them to my students, but I definitely feel like I'm on my way and feel a lot more confident since doing my literature review in this area. So on the forum post I posted about, had anyone been to ophthalmology appointments with their students? I asked this question because I haven't actually been to any ophthalmology appointments with my students, and I was a little bit unconfident and not sure what to expect, and maybe because I have been in RTV for about a year now, I feel like, I might actually have something decent to ask. And maybe, I guess I just thought, they know so much. But it was great getting the feedback from my colleagues on the course, and they're just saying, look, it was really, really valuable. You actually build a relationship with the ophthalmologist, you build a bit more of a relationship with the parents, and then you all have, when the ophthalmologist explains things, they tend to explain things more if you're there as opposed to just the parent being there, going more into the eye condition, and you have like an equal understanding of the terminology and what's actually going on for the child, and they've found it really positive. So they said, yeah, definitely ask to go to them, which is what I'm keen to do next. In terms of my other question that I posted onto the forum, that was related to Gordon Dutton's Tree of Visual Perception and autism, and I was just wondering if any of my colleagues had had any experiences with doing referrals for the students at special schools, because I did I started a referral, and the student was, asked for me to do a referral because she had light sensitivity, and was covering up like this all the time. She had fringes all over her face in the classroom, outside, and I did a functional vision assessment, and I think it came out at 6/9 acuity, which is too low to come onto the BLEMS roll, but I wasn't really sure, and I didn't really feel like I was experienced enough or qualified enough to actually make those decisions. So it was wonderful getting the feedback and actually talking to a colleague at my work, and it was basically that if you suspect that someone has got CVI, then you need to do get a lot of information, collect a lot of background history, and always take a senior teacher with you and collect as much information as possible in different surroundings and on different days, and actually don't necessarily look at the results, but look at how they're reading the words. Like, what are they doing? Is their head really close, or are they reading across the passages straight? Again, I feel like this is just really early days for me, but it was wonderful to hear that feedback, because my manager, she just said, can you go and do this referral? And I just thought, oh, well, that's just what you do. But I just feel really relieved that, to me it's quite a big responsibility putting someone on the BLEMS roll, and I felt relieved because my colleagues were like, no, you need to ask for a senior teacher, and that's what I'm going to do. So I think what I'll do is this term go back and redo that referral with a senior teacher, so that I can be confident with writing that report. Also for this domain, I was asked to do some PD at an inter-special schools collaborative PD session that we have once a term in Christchurch down with all the special schools. So they asked if we could do a session on visual strategies for students working under level 1 of the curriculum, which is kind of the students that I work with, and I've worked at other special schools, so I've had a bit of a background in this area. But in preparation for the PD, I read the main points on Lily Nielsen's Little Room, because I wanted to... That's something that special schools don't seem to have in their repertoire, and I also wanted to talk about the active learning aspects of independence, hand under hand, and how, like, the philosophy behind active learning. So in terms of the video, it was really funny watching myself. I couldn't watch it all, I had to turn it off. But at the time, I felt really confident giving the presentation. I felt, the presentation was with me, Lindley and Judy, so it wasn't like I had to do it on my own, and those are two really experienced, awesome senior teachers. So as well as presenting the PD, I also learnt quite a lot while doing it, and it was a really awesome experience because we did like a tag team presentation where, as bits of information came in, and you could kind of feel a presenter not petering off, but someone else would jump in and add some other information to it, and I quite like that style because that's how my brain works. It's like, I find it difficult to formally go through things. It's a little bit more free flow. So yeah, it had really good feedback from the teachers that went. They said it was really inspiring. They really loved the idea of active learning and promoting that independence. Often mainstream teachers are not really sure how to do that, particularly when it comes to vision. And so we talked about like contrast, lighting, less clutter, hand under hand, and again like the Lily Nielsen active learning stuff. So yeah, I was really happy with it, and I think as well what it did is it's like that interprofessional working relationship again, because some of my teachers that I work with at the special schools, they were able to understand that information, and I had everything set out at our preschool, and they were able to see the equipment, and it gave them a few more ideas. So yeah, that was really positive. In terms of the next steps from there for the active learning, I think for me at the moment I'm pretty resourced with my senior teachers in the Christchurch office, so it is like continue to read the books, which I already do because I love active learning, and then just continue to keep developing the preschool with my senior teacher Judy Barber. They're a wealth of knowledge, so I don't need to look anywhere else for that. So yeah, that was really good. Finally, I'll just reflect on what I presented up at the working group at Homai Campus, and part of the reason I was invited up there was because, well, really, Lindley's the one who's initiated this project, but it's called Initiate and Trial an Approach to Enhance the Outcomes of Learners with Additional Support Needs in Special School. So Lindley started up a working group a couple of years ago based on how could they get screening for students at special schools, as many students with learning and physical needs that are complex do not have routine vision checks or CVI testing. And so Lindley set up a partnership with a Christchurch ophthalmologist and some clinicians, and they've identified a need for this service, and the school that I'm the RTV at, the special school, said that they would really like to come on board with this project, and so we've started that. So we just presented a short slideshow about what we're going to do. So this term at Waitaha, we're doing a vision screening with the students, we're doing referrals to the eye clinic, we're doing feedback letters to the family, glasses will be prescribed and delivered, and we're going to have feedback and evaluation from the parents and teachers, and then professional development for teachers from professional development to the special school. And then our steps after that would hopefully to be do the other two schools in special schools in the Christchurch area. So I mean, I was really lucky to just be at the RTV at Waitaha School. As I say, I didn't organise this, but what I really like about it is it's a little bit what Chloe's work was in the co-constructed resource, is that it really does take a interdisciplinary team to support our students with complex needs or cerebral vision impairment. It's really not simple and straightforward, and I'm lucky enough to be part of this team and to help build the relationships and really encouraging teachers and parents to put their students forward for this. So currently we have 28 students that will be screened this term, and I'm really looking forward to just absorbing all the knowledge and information from Lindley, the senior teacher that's actually taking this as her research inquiry, and working with the ophthalmologists and seeing some really positive outcomes for this. So yeah, I also feel a bit of a relief, because sometimes it can be quite tricky answering all the questions from the teachers at the special schools, and just working with some other professionals who have a bit more experience, they'll be right there, and I can be like, hey, well, ask these people. Yeah, so I'm just really looking forward to that, and I'll put that in my Domain 6 portfolio. So thanks for listening.